What's good, everyone? Welcome into the Sus Edwards Fantasy Football Show. Popping in late night, unexpected. Hopped into a draft, and we're going to hit the ground running here, man. We're going to get started. We're not going to fall into the same dreaded RB hole that we fell into last time. We're going to get Ashton Genty here in the first round, pull him up over Justin Jefferson, flip him by a pick. We're not doing all this Justin Jefferson shit, not on this beautiful Sunday evening, but appreciate everyone who probably won't tune in because we're here late as fuck and it's 1:50 on a Sunday night, but the feeling is right. So yeah, man, it's drafting time. We are going to see what we can line up with Genty. Gonna be looking to go Barkley or Walker here if we can pair it up. And honestly, maybe we just flip the script from last time and we go double RB start. I have no problem pulling up Chase Brown here. Chase Brown finished last year pretty hot. He's going to build on that, assuming we can get a good bill of health out of the whole Bengals offense as a whole. Kenneth Walker or Chase Brown? Let's go Kenneth Walker. Seeing some reports about the Chiefs leaning on the run early in the season. I think that you don't want to have no Kenneth Walker. I think 16 is a little bit rich for the Kenneth Walker price, but at the end of the day, you got to pay the cost, unless you want to get blanked. So we are not going to leave ourselves vulnerable to a potential blanking there. But all right, let's see if anyone did anything weird here. Brock Bowers pulled up to the 15 spot. I like that. I like the concept, especially on full PPR, of pulling up Bowers and McBride. I was talking about it in the Discord earlier today. Why I think Brock Bowers and McBride are both a little bit underpriced now, especially on Underdog. I'm seeing these guys fall into the third round. Get it? It's not full PPR. Could make a little sense. But I just don't get it, man. I don't understand why Brock Bowers and Trey McBride, two potentially generational elite Hall of Fame level talents, are going behind some of these receivers. I'm talking Rashee Rice. I'm talking Drake London, Nico Collins. Not in this draft necessarily, but just in general. I think they give you elite wide receiver scores that even a CeeDee Lamb and a Justin Jefferson can give you, with a ceiling that a similar ceiling. It's not just like compiling average weeks. They spike too along the way, and I think the positional edge at tight end, if you can get that at a onesie, if you can get that at tight end instead of receiver, it's all the more valuable. I know that there's a lot of tight end scores later in these drafts that we feel pretty decent about. You know, some people brought up Tucker Kraft, they brought up Harold Fannin, Kyle Pitts. And sure, those guys can spike too, but do they have that same league winning upside that a McBride and Bowers do? Of course not, in all likelihood. Tucker Kraft, maybe if he wasn't coming off the torn ACL. Guess it depends how you feel about the ACL recovery as a whole. Seems to be progressing, like the Achilles medically, to be a more accelerated timeline, but I still worry a little bit about return to performance off an ACL. A little bit. I just don't think that we can always lean on this new Christian Watson timeline as the meta. Coming up on it here, not going to do Josh Allen. Seeing some weird stuff about Kyren being in a true 50-50 split. I will believe that when I see it. This feels like a wide receiver spot. Let's go Garrett Wilson, who has a chance to be maybe not this year's JSN, because I don't think Geno Smith is Sam Darnold, but I think there is a really good shot that Garrett Wilson just kind of compiles a pretty sick 1,300 yard season. I feel more confident in him getting 1,300 yards than a lot of these other receivers going here. No disrespect to them. It's just all kind of lined up for him to get that 30% target share that we love to get when we can. Is this a Zay spot? Is it a Loveland spot? What's going to be here at this next? We can do Zay. Do a little Zay. See if we can push Lamar a bit. Never know. We might get some Zay Lamar stacking going. Zay's been an interesting one for me, where historically he's not my favorite click, but on a full PPR site, um, where touchdowns are marginally less important and those receptions are up. They're talking about Lamar throwing a little bit more this year, so who knows? Maybe Zay Flowers could have that JSN type of season if they really do up the overall pass volume. You have Isaiah Likely departing. They had some round 3, round 4 receivers, but at the end of the day, Zay is a hooper, and many have said to me that he could break a couple longer touchdowns, and that's absolutely in play, especially on this team right here. But yeah, just to put a bow on the Brock Bowers McBride thing, I think if you get a tight ends who you think can score 10 touchdowns and get 1,200 yards, they got to go above a receiver who can score 10 touchdowns on 1,200 yards. Like this is just how it works, guys. Like if we get would you rather have 25 points at tight end or receiver? Like if you could pick a spike, you would pick it at tight end because you feel like your receiver core, someone in your receiver core can make up that 17 easier than your other tight end. Now, it's not to say you have to go elite tight end, Bowers, McBride, Loveland all the time. You can mix it up, but I just don't get, like, if you're on the turn, the 2-3 turn, and you've got pick 23, you want to go Hampton over McBride. Again, that didn't happen in this draft, but I'm seeing a lot of drafts where that does happen. It's just very perplexing to me. Please let Lamar fall here. Pretty please, cherry on top. Let's see. If we do not land Lamar here, is there a running back that we feel good about? Honestly, I don't love Judkins, just for the simple fact that the Browns' offense will still probably be a disaster. Price, you can have him at 55. That is a little rich for me. And Tootin I was more into, but now we're getting the weird Chris Rodriguez could be the lead back reports. I'm not sure how much I believe that from John Shipley, who also great reporter, but also reported last year Tank Bigsby would be the lead back for the Jaguars. So, it's May. Let's maybe put like a bit of pause on that until we anoint Chris Rodriguez the leading rusher. I will go Lamar, easy game, stack it up with Zay. Little less important to have the stack on drafters, but I'm not mad at it. So through 5 rounds, we got Lamar Jackson, Ashton Jeanty, Ken Walker, Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers. We'll take it. 8 combined touchdowns for my 2 receivers, but fuck it. They'll get 2,700 yards. Maybe Tootin falls back. We could do that at 64. I think I'm good on Tootin in the 50s for now. I think it's just really hard to justify him over even in a Dunze. And just start looking at the arbitrage prices. Like, do I really want to do Tootin at 57 or just do Pollard a couple rounds later, do Jaylen Warren a couple rounds later? Like, is there really a difference in the role between a Jaylen Warren and a Tootin? Most likely. And of course, Tootin's on a much better offense, but Jaylen Warren is pretty efficient in his own right. And honestly, if Aaron Rodgers comes back, with the absence of Kenneth Gainwell, with how much Aaron Rodgers wants to check down, do we really know how many targets Jaylen Warren could get? Sure, Rico could get targeted too, but like, Jaylen Warren's the real receiving back of that duo. Running back, receiver. We could pull up Marv. I don't really want to do Tyson over Marv or BTJ. He feels like them, but maybe not even as good a prospect. It's kind of a gross range. Let's pull up BTJ. Fuck it. Make a bet on the bounce back to year 1. BTJ, of course, banged up a little bit in year 2. I think, of course, he's going to be healthier, but it's also just insanely stacked in that room. Honestly, he's maybe not the best pick on drafters, but again, I think there's a small chance that he gets traded. Very slim, but it's in the realm of possibilities. And if he ever got traded, he would be most likely a guy you would need with his talent profile and the fact that like probably 24, 25 other quarterbacks would be a better fit for his downfield um, receiving profile. Great offense, though. And again, he couldn't have been more banged up at different points last year. So he seemed to have the yips at points. Um, so I'm willing to bet on the talent of the Brian Thomases, the Ladd McConkeys. And honestly, Brian Thomas was more injured than Ladd last year. Like he has more of an injury excuse and he goes 2 rounds later. Now, he didn't get a massive upgrade in terms of going to Mike McDaniel from Greg Roman, but he's already in a great offense. He has his Mike McDaniel and Liam Cohen. So I think if he's just healthy, he could easily pay off a 6th round price. Wouldn't go crazy on the exposure on Brian Thomas, but you definitely do not want to have no Brian Thomas. That's kind of my read on it. And it sets up a potential T-Law stack, which I want to be heavier on T-Law. I don't know how I ended up so light pre-draft. That was just a blind spot for me. T-Law finished the year insane. The rushing touchdowns, he's got weapons. We'll have Travis Hunter back. Draft is disconnected. You love to see that. At least it's 9 picks away, so we probably won't have to kill ourselves or whatever you're allowed to say on YouTube. Who cares? What could we possibly do at this next turn? 81. Yeah, we'll just queue up a couple things. I think I'm good on Ramondre. I'm not really trying to do this Ramondre shit. I just don't really see a realistic path to him holding on to that job by the end of the year based on what we know about TreVeyon Henderson's talent profile. And in that event, like I don't want to take, kind of how like last year Rico flipped to Chuba Hubbard. Like, do you really want Patriots Chuba Hubbard? Like it's the Patriots, it's not the Panthers, but it's like, come on, man. Ramondre at 73 could look just so fucking dumb. Like he went like pick 120 last year for a reason. And I could easily see him being worth pick 120 again as like a premium RB2, but like a Corum, a Monangai type of pick. Like, would anyone really be shocked if Stevenson is just like a Corum or a Monangai for the Patriots? I don't think anyone would be shocked by such a thing. A couple running backs rip off the board here. That's unfortunate. Still think Jaylen Warren would be a potentially interesting fit. A lot of quarterbacks here. Not a quarterback hungry room. And we have 2 guys behind us who have an elite. So let's see what happens here. Might try to push T-Law around because honestly, we can just take whatever quarterback. It doesn't have to be stacked. And I think Jaylen Warren is a little bit of a tier break at running back. So I would like for him to be the click here, ideally. Yeah, I think people have gotten a little sour and bored with Jaylen Warren, but again, I think we really got to consider what the receiving profile, the dump off profile would be with an Aaron Rodgers, man. I mean, Kenneth Gainwell vacates so many targets. All right, let's go Jaylen Warren, see if we can push T-Law, and honestly, I will not lose sleep if we don't get T-Law. There are some receivers here that are kind of interesting. Addison Godwin leading the way. Jayden Reed steaming up a little bit. 91. I know he had been going in the hundreds, I think, at one point, but don't know how to exactly read this Packers offense this year because they let go of Wicks, they let go of Dobbs. Are they really going to consolidate the 3 wide receiver sets? It feels like it. And in that event, that we get the consolidation to the primary 3, plus Tucker Kraft, though. We have to account for the fact that last year when Tucker Kraft was in, Watson was out, vice versa, when we try to figure out how this pie is going to be divided. But the fact that we're going to probably have a consolidated 3 wide receiver set for the most part, that's pretty exciting. That's pretty exciting. And they're talking about maybe the Packers are going to be a little bit more aggressive. Like they have a tendency in the past to kind of just like get a lead in the second half, but kind of just take their foot off the gas and just kind of run the ball, kind of like play not to lose instead of to win. Seems like from some of the things I've read that they might just try to go pedal to the metal, like the Detroit Lions have had so much success. Just like, no, we're going to like, if we're beating your ass, we're going to continue to beat your ass and we're going to trust our quarterback to not turn it over. I think that's probably the right way to play it. Otherwise, you end up like losing to the Cleveland Browns and looking like total fucking Mongos. But I'm coming up on pick 88 here. Got a little bit of a Herbert fall, dart. Is our back stack? Let's just do Herbert again, man. Something about Herbert at 88 really does something for me. And I think we could get a little bit of a QB run here for some teams that have not taken a quarterback yet. They might double tap. And then, maybe we get a little bit of a receiver fall that we like. So, and if not, who cares? We can take Gadsden maybe 2 picks from now. So I think it sets up fine. Backstack Herbert with QJ, Gadsden, Brendan Thompson, anyone? Trey Harris, I'm a fan. So there's options. And the 2 RBs in Keaton and Vidal. Be interested to see who gets more receiving work between Keaton and Vidal, because Keaton hasn't historically gotten a lot of receiving work in Baltimore, but like how much of that is like just playing with Lamar Jackson? How much of that is just the system he was in? Something tells me Mike McDaniel might want to get Keaton Mitchell involved in the passing game. At the same time, Vidal has a decent little, Samaje Perine-esque profile to him. He can catch the ball a little bit. So would not shock me to see Vidal being like a 3rd down back in instances where Hampton needs a breather. Let's see. I mean, Ricky would be great, but that's probably not going to happen. Wandale falling a little bit makes sense with the Tate pick, but I still think he's such a good bet for volume. Carnell Tate year 1, is he really going to like command a shitload of targets? I really don't see it. He's more of a deep threat than maybe some people taking him realize. Just as like, 4th overall pick. It's like, yeah, but he might be, I don't want to say Alec Piercy in year 1, but like just maybe not the 10 target a game guy. And nobody's saying like he's going to get 10 targets, but like he might be Jordan Addison-y, just like commanding more downfield targets and not really soaking up a ton of volume. Whereas like Wandale, we know exactly what Daboll wants to do with him, and he could just be the benefactor of Carnell Tate drawing a lot of downfield attention and it kind of just creating like a good amount of space for Wandale to operate. Ricky would be crazy. I mean, we're not passing that up. What are we, fucking insane? What is happening? Did I miss Ricky news today? Or is this room just afraid of a white boy with a little bit of motion? Someone's got to fill me in. Shout out to anyone, if anyone is in the chat right now. It is not showing me any comments at the moment, but I appreciate anyone who is watching right now. We've got a fun little 2, 3, 4, 0 cooking. I think we put a bow on the Herbert stack and get Gadsden if he is here. That would be pretty lit. Let's see. Someone is in the chat. A bunch of people in the chat. No one's trying to read all that bullshit. I've talked about Gadsden a good amount on the channel. And by a good amount, I mean like the one other video I've done. But I think Gadsden just pretty lined up to have a really solid receiving season. Now, David Njoku is going to meet with the Chargers tomorrow. I'm not willing to push it on that news yet. We've seen a ton of meetings for these vets this offseason, and it doesn't lead to anything. I think there's a world where Kyle Pitts could get traded, and then Njoku goes to the Falcons. Anyway, I don't think David Njoku signing would be great for Gadsden, but I don't think it would be a death knell either. So let's do Gadsden here. Fits nicely. Little position of need and a stack. So we got Lamar and Herbert. Could call it a day there, but maybe we tack on like a round 20 quarterback. Genty, Walker, Warren. Feels nice. Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, BTJ, and Pearsall. A lot of talent there. Let's see what we can do with them. And then Gadsden. I mean, this team feels so much more fucking fun than that last crock of shit I cooked up in the previous draft. My God, that was not a lot of fun. The haters and doubters are going to say DB bets Mog. Absolutely nobody believes that IRL though. But yeah, man, J.K. Dobbins goes right after Gadsden. Figuring out what to do with the Denver backfield, I don't know if it's like one of the most important things to do of the offseason at this point, or if it like doesn't matter at all, if that makes sense. In the sense that if are these guys just going to I think if there's like a true lead back, it could be one of the most important things to figure out because you're getting a lead back after pick 100 in Dobbins or Coleman. I think what's pretty clear to me is this Harvey price at 77. I just don't get what we're doing with RJ Harvey at pick 77. Like the team has told you everything they need to tell you that RJ Harvey is one of the worst picks in best ball. They have told you that the run game died when Dobbins went out. Who was leading that rushing attack at that point? RJ Harvey. His vision was terrible. If you watched RJ Harvey play last year, two things were clear. His vision is terrible, and his ability to break tackles, like his play strength, was weak. Now, can a rookie improve? But he's like a 24-year-old rookie last year. It was like he's not like a young spring chicken who can like has a lot of room to grow. He's pretty close to a finished product. Like again, you can like learn things and like maybe interpret what you're seeing on the field a little bit better, but he's not like going to make leaps and bounds in his growth. They go out, they pay Dobbins a way bigger contract than people thought he would get. It shows Denver's like the value they place on J.K. Dobbins in the offense, and then they go out and draft Jonah Coleman to be the Dobbins insurance, seemingly to me. But Coleman can also play on third downs, and they might just view R.J. Harvey as like a Woody Marks ass pick. I don't know, man. Like, what do you win? Like, is RJ Harvey getting 10 carries a week? No, not without an injury. And you can say Dobbins is going to get hurt at some point. Fine. If you want to say for like underdog in a pod style tournament, if you want to take RJ Harvey at pick 100, cool. But like, why would I even take RJ Harvey over Kenneth Gainwell? Like, Kenneth Gainwell has more job security. Aaron Jones has more job. Like, all these guys are like at worst the RB2 on their team. All these other running backs that are going here, and like, besides maybe JCM, but like RJ Harvey could easily be the 3. But by the time October rolls around, like, I don't know, man. I just really don't get what I win with RJ Harvey. Like, are they going to make him the lead between the tackles back? If the answer is no to go with the receiving, then like I don't care. Like I don't win anything with that, and I don't care, even on a PPR site. Some interesting receivers here, but I think I'll like what there is at the next turn with them. Maybe not. I will say I think Jonathan Brooks could have a special year. So let's see what we can push at receiver. I think there will be a name I like, but I don't think there will be a running back I like as much as Jonathan Brooks. And I think his price is going to keep steaming up to a point where it gets bad, and I want to be out at the bad price. You could argue this price is getting close to bad, but I definitely want to be out at like the bad price. But I don't want to have none. So let's get some Jonathan Brooks in the event that he gets 100%. Should be a 100% level health by camp. And take a shot on maybe this year's Rico Dowdle. Who knows? But yeah, it would be sick to get like a Jalen McMillan, a Jaden Higgins. This is coming up on a wide receiver spot I like quite a bit. I like what I'm seeing here. I don't know about Omar Cooper on a Garrett Wilson team. That doesn't really feel fun to me. That doesn't feel fun to me at all. Really hoping McMillan or Higgins will be here. This 12-hole guy has a bunch of every other position drafted except receiver, so he could double tap the McMillan Higgins. But I mean, what's wrong with Rashid Shaheed? Jawan Jennings is probably going to sign relatively soon. So we'll see what happens here. Running back gets so fucking beat, man. Running back gets real bad real fast. Quarterback, we don't need any of these guys. Ferguson, nice little value, but I don't think it does much for this team. Let's go Jaden Higgins here. Get a little bit more of him packed. Just really make this a well-rounded roster. And I think he's got some decent spike ability. another young receiver. I think one of the most sneaky things about Jaden Higgins, like, sure, is he maybe around overpriced potentially, but I think there's a contingent upside to Jaden Higgins that's maybe not fully expressed. Like, if Nico Collins goes down, doesn't Jaden Higgins have like a crazy disproportionate upside compared to a lot of the receivers going in this range? Like, couldn't he just consolidate a lot of the Nico Collins work in a way that I don't think a lot of these other receivers that we're looking at would consolidate like a crazy target share? Higgins, very similar body type to Nico, could make a talent leap in his own right. And I just think there's a lot of meat on the bone in the event that Nico Collins gets hurt, which he has been known to do. So we will hammer in Jaden Higgins here. Jawan Jennings, Rashid Shaheed. I love this receiver range. Not Isaac Tesla. No clue what Isaac Tesla is doing at pick 157. Are you out of your mind? Brandon Ayuk. The Brandon Ayuk stuff is getting weird. I still think he can hoop, but man, does he even care? And as a guy who was really into Amari Cooper last year, I don't know how into the guys that don't seem to want to play football anymore I want to be. Like, if you don't seem to love football anymore, I don't think I want to invest in you. That's kind of where I'm at with it. It's as simple as like, if your heart's not in it, what's your incentive to report to camp? What's your incentive to sign? Like, I think Amari Cooper still could play a little bit. He showed up to the Raiders and looked like he could play a little bit, but the dude didn't want to play for a shitty ass team for $3 million a year. We're not going to relitigate the Amari Cooper thing, but the point is that like he seemed done because he didn't give a fuck anymore. And like, does Brandon Ayuk not give a fuck anymore? It's totally live. I had been taking him in like the 150s. He would fall sometimes. And I was into that, but like that was when it seemed like, okay, like San Francisco's going to cut him, and then boom, he's on Washington, and they waived all his he waived all his guarantees so that he could move on. Now it seems like there's going to be a weird game that is played where like he has to report to San Francisco camp in order to like apply that pressure for them to release him. What if Brandon Ayuk like doesn't really fundamentally understand that he has to play the game, and he eventually just he functionally just gets like soft retired by the fact that he hasn't reported? I don't know. Weird shit could absolutely transpire, and I don't really want to be a part of any more weird shit. I would like for Brandon Ayuk to stop saying weird shit. So we're honestly getting to a Trey Tucker, man. I think I could push it. Is there anything before? Yeah, these running backs stink. Could use another tight end. Full PPR site, Juwan Johnson. I think there will be a receiver I like at the next turn. If not, can I push tight end? I really don't think I can push tight end. So we'll go Juwan. Go Juwan on this team. Dude seems like a solid bet every year. People win a lot of tournaments with Juwan Johnson, right or wrong. Now, he does get some added target competition this year, so have to be mindful of that. I think that's kind of baked into the current price. I think he was totally cheap before the draft, but like, okay, now you added Jordan Tyson. ETN is there. Like, ETN's going to take away from the running backs. Let's be honest. They're not going to like throw a 20% target share to like ETN. So I think Juwan Johnson at 153, it's like, is he going to be some home run pick? No, but like he's not going to let you down. Still seems like the unquestioned tight end one in the offense. I am into the Juwan Johnson experience. Now, did they get Oscar Delp in the draft? They did. So I think long term that could be a little scary for the Juwan Bulls, but again, we're playing best ball. We're not playing dynasty here. So Oscar Delp could find his way on the field this year, but I don't think he is a major risk to Juwan Johnson this season. Denzel Boston would be interesting here, but honestly, I think I'm Trey Tucker over Denzel Boston. I think there's a world where Trey Tucker goes. That's a shame. Would have loved him here. It makes me regret the Juwan pick a little bit if we don't get Boston, because I thought we could push either Naylor, Tucker, or Boston. So we would love for these guys to take a running back. Take someone. Okay, Boston goes. Darn. That's a shame, but it is what it is. Um, who do we like here? Trey Harris is a stack, which is fine. Debo Samuel will get a job soon. I'm fine going Trey Harris here, I think. Nothing at running back really calling out. We'll go Trey Harris. Could easily be running in 3 wide receiver sets with Ladd McConkey and QJ. Heck, there's a world where Trey Harris could flip QJ depending on what Mike McDaniel is feeling. Never say never. So I am totally willing to buy in on an athletic downfield threat in a Mike McDaniel offense who's also going to earn snaps based on his blocking. So Trey Harris just feels like a good year 2 bet to me. And some of these bets, like the Ayuk and the Samuel, like I think they're going to keep falling as long as shit stays relatively weird for them. I am willing to push them a bit and say, you know what? You remember last year, like Amari Cooper was pretty expensive, like 150s, 160s, and then he's dipping to like the late rounds. I think we could get something like that for the Ayuk and Debo Samuel cohort, as long as we keep having weird stuff on Ayuk and Debo not really taking meetings. So let's see what happens with those guys. I'm down to push them quite a bit. Probably starting to get to a spot where I would like to add on a 5th running back, Genty and Walker. Those are like the 2 staples for this team. So this team goes as they go. If you don't get a good Genty and Walker season, not going to have a good season with this team. But Jaylen Warren holds it down a bit. Jonathan Brooks, the injury risk. Not a lot of standalone value, so we're getting to the point where we want to add some running backs who could contribute to this team. Now, who might they be? Brian Robinson, if anything happens to Bijan, of course, he goes. Tank Bigsby, pretty solid pick to me as a contingent bet. And we don't have Saquon, so that's always good. Tank Bigsby just, it's as simple as this. He is a really talented 2-down grinder on a potentially really good offense. If you believe that the Eagles, not even the offensive line, talent having a regression, but just the fact that Kevin Patullo and his predictable ass offense is not there anymore. You seem to have a good, and I mean this in a positive way, a sicko in Sean Mannion. Seems like just a real football sicko. Should be a good offensive environment for Tank Bigsby, who has been drafted. So fuck that. Never mind all that shit I said about him. Who cares about him? He is dead to me. Okay. Calvin Ridley would be interesting as a little bit of a ping pong with we didn't even get any Tennessee guys. Okay, never mind. But I do think Calvin Ridley would be a fun way to play the Tennessee passing attack cheap. If we can get that. Let's is there anything else? None of these running backs really we can push all these guys. None of them matter. And I like Calvin Ridley. I mean, I've done a bunch of Travis Hunter already, so we'll mix it up. Go Calvin Ridley. Get a little bit more proven production. No problem. You still got to attack running back, though. So it gets to a point. I'm not doing Zach Charbonnet. Dude's not going to come back till November 20th, probably at the earliest. And that would be on the positive, aggressive side of the timeline. So I'm just not going to take that guy in a season-long contest. I don't want a guy who's probably not going to play 12 weeks minimum. And okay, he plays 5 weeks in a part-time role. What do you think? He's going to do you think Zach Charbonnet is going to come back to a full-time lead back role straight off an ACL on the fast side of the timeline? That will not happen. So you don't win anything in drafters with a Zach Charbonnet. In a pod style underdog contest, sure, but not in this. It's just not how it's going to go. Okay. We can push these receivers. These tight ends stink. Besides the GOAT, Terrence Ferguson. I'm going to pull up Kaimani Vidal. We're building out a backstack Chargers thing here. Again, Zach Charbonnet, buns, torn ACL. Like I'm good on that. Emmett Johnson, round 5 pick in a terrible class, probably not doing a lot this year. I like the player, I like the talent, but rookie running back in Kansas City hasn't really done anything since Kareem Hunt. I just don't want to do that again season long. Whereas Vidal, I feel like can do something from the jump. Katron, Katron is potentially interesting because there is a world where he beats out JCM. I think it's more likely JCM wins that particular role, but I can see it for Katron. I can see it in this range. Alvin Kamara is just like a late stage PPR scam. It gets to a point where he's clickable. I just feel like he has no juice left, but I guess he's clickable. I mean, we're at pick 200. Like, can I say with certainty that Alvin Kamara can never have weeks again? Of course he can. So gets to a point where he's clickable. But I think Vidal is just like a bit younger, bit more meat on the bone, some juice. He's not crazy good, but he can have weeks. And this offense could be pretty sick. So we're going to just build out the correlation there with a talent bet I believe in. I'm not doing correlation for guys I don't believe in, but if I think you're decent, you can come along for the ride. How are we feeling about this receiver room? Wilson, Flowers, BTJ, Pearsall, Higgins, Trey Harris, Calvin Rose. I actually feel pretty decent about that for having not attacked receiver through the first 2 rounds. I think I'd like maybe another spike week guy. This could be a fun spot. Oh, Chris Bell goes. That's a shame. Would have liked him on the squad potentially. Darnell Mooney. The thing with Darnell Mooney is he really did not get that much money. When I looked at the Darnell Mooney contract, I think it might be like $3 million guaranteed. But you're looking at the Darius Slayton 3 months to recover for his surgery. And you're looking at Neighbors dealing with his knee. So could Darnell Mooney, by hook or by crook, just kind of stumble into a pretty decent role, a good opportunity to build chemistry with Jackson Dart? I don't know. Not a lot of money for Darnell Mooney, but a player who has produced in the past when he doesn't break his collarbone, like last year, and a decent quarterback. And sure, I don't love Matt Nagy, but who does? Mooney at pick 200 could pay off. So he is someone to consider here. I'm not doing Tank Dell. You can't pay me. You can't make me. Booty is interesting, but I don't want to do too much of I don't know if I want to do too much of him. So this might be a Mooney spot. I would have done Chris Bell, but it was not in the cards. We'll do Mooney here. He could have some spikes. He's had spikes as recently as 2 years ago. So, yo, what is good, T-Wise? Hope all is well, my man. In these drafting streets. Okay, we got 3 more rounds here, and we are rocking a 2-5-8-2. With Lamar and Herbert, I don't feel pressured to get another quarterback, but there are some names here. That would be round 20 if we go that route, though. I like Shedeur. I like Shedeur a lot as a guy to start 10-plus games. I think Deshaun Watson's shoulder is absolutely irredeemably cooked. Didn't have 200 yards the last year we saw him play 7 games, and that was 2 Achilles tears ago. I don't think an Achilles is the end of the world for a guy, but like for a guy who has lost all his confidence and has no shoulder anymore, I'm good on Deshaun. So I think Shedeur wins it out with a young receiver and overall skill group. They're going to latch on to Shedeur. They don't want anything to do with Watson. But I do think another running back would be nice, and another tight end for sure. Oh, T-Ferg. If T-Ferg's up, we're windmilling that. And Gadsden, Juwan, Ferguson, we can call that a day at tight end. Not morally opposed to Mike Gesicki or Greg Dulcich, but I think we're chilling on that room. I mean, we've already made such a bet on who Terrence Ferguson will become when he grows up one day, which is hopefully this year. We are going to go T-Ferg. Let's see. Yo, Fantasy Dog. Love your style. Just saying. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you being here and hanging out for a little bit. Yeah, I just hop on and sometimes I talk some shit or sometimes we talk through some players, but we're just vibing. So appreciate you being here. and hope you are having a good night and had a great weekend. It was a good weekend for me. My Sixers got the win last night, so we love to see that. Or I guess Saturday night, um, and had a good day out and about on the town today. So you like Ferg over Parkinson? I do. Now I do take Parkinson as well, but I think that there's just an untapped upside for a profile like Ferguson, a guy who got good second round capital that they traded up to get, had 21 yards per reception, so he's like a pretty explosive play guy. They don't address wide receiver three this offseason for the Rams. They don't really they give Tyler Higbee like half of what Charlie Kolar and Daniel Bellinger got. So the way I see the Rams offense playing out this year is a lot of that 12 personnel with two wide receivers and two tight ends, where you almost use Terrence Ferguson as like a Kyle Pitts, as like, sure, he like can play a little bit of inline blocking, but like he's best as like running a like wide receiver routes. And I think that's what part of why they passed on a Mekhi Lemon and Sadiq in the first round is like, okay, we're gonna try to develop Max Clare to be like our Dallas Goedert, Hunter Henry type tight end, and have Terrence Ferguson like he can block, but he probably won't be as good as Parkinson at blocking. But it's like this dude is big. He has a crazy big wingspan. He can high point balls. And like if you watch like some of Terrence Ferguson, again, he had only 11 catches last year, but he was hurt in camp and was hurt during the season. Um, McVay rookies, a lot of times they need to build that confidence and build that understanding, especially in a year with Matt Stafford dealing with a back injury. You got to keep him upright and protected. He started to have a little bit of a late breakout. Nothing crazy, but again, I think he showed good tape and he got really good coach speak. So Ferguson ended up being like one of my flag plants this year. But it could go wrong. It could definitely go wrong. He might just be like a Mike Gesicki. But I think there's a world where he could have like some Kyle Pitts-ass weeks. Not like a 40 point week, but like some decent weeks along the way. You already know we got to go George Holani here. Just honestly, at this point, it's just kind of a bit. I liked George Holani a lot before the Jadarian Price pick. I will tell you that much. Now it's kind of like, okay, could he be, their Rashad White for like 12 weeks? Could he be their Justice Hill? Jadarian Price doesn't seem like he's going to walk into a workhorse role. George Holani's probably between Emmanuel Wilson. Emmanuel Wilson's a bit of a better between the tackles back, so maybe they want him to be there. He's not a 1-1 at all for Sharps, but like be that RB2 between the tackles. Or maybe Seattle opens up the pass game a little bit this year. They let Walker leave. They keep Shaheed. They get Torrey Horton back. Maybe they just lean into the pass more. Maybe they're in some closer games if, they lost some pieces on defense and they have to shoot it out a little bit more. Holani could play some third down stuff. He's a pretty good receiver. They trusted him to play third downs in the Super Bowl with Sharps out. So he could grow that role. And again, I don't think Holani is some league winner, but round 19, round 20, sometimes I just need a couple running back points. And I feel like he could do that. Let's see. Is Fergus stand up tight end? He can do some inline blocking. I think he'll be better as like a receiver. Okay, I hear you. Yeah. Will Terrence Ferguson be a league winner? No, but he's like a guy who I'm like, could he pay off like pick 150? Like could he be in that Hunter Henry, Jawan type range? I think we just do Shador because I like this team and I don't want it to be ruined by potential Lamar Herbert overlapping injuries. We got them both cheap enough. It's whatever. Let's check in on the chat. Yeah, 21 yards per reception too for Terrence Ferguson. Next closest tight end I think was Kraft at 15, and a lot of that was Yak for Kraft. So it's like Terrence Ferguson is like benefiting from how dominant Puka and Adams are at like commanding defensive attention. He could run free a good amount, and Matt Stafford can hit him running free. I mean, Matt Stafford can dial up the deep ball, and Sean McVay will get him open. So I think there will be a lot of like 2 or 3 point weeks for Ferguson, but I think he could also have some 15 to 20 point weeks as well. Wow, your knowledge is noted, sir. Thank you. Well, I have to be knowledgeable on Terrence Ferguson. It is my brand this year, and so I've got to get the talking points down. But I appreciate that, man. Do I think DeMarcado can get McKinnon numbers with KC? I have to say now, this has nothing to do with it. I do think DeMarcado could have some sneaky value. I hate Amari DeMarcado so much because I had some pretty good like Splash Sports eliminator pools going, and DeMarcado fumbling on the 1 yard line for Arizona last year lost me so much money. Don't want to talk about it. I'll talk about it, but it was so brutal, man. Like I just have to get over that personal bias against him. But like personal bias against Amari DeMarcado's decision making at the 1 yard line aside, I do think he can. This probably won't be popular to the fantasy football guys out there, and I have way more Emmett Johnson. I have like no DeMarcado shares, but I just feel like, to your point, I think the Chiefs are probably going to lean on a DeMarcado. You know, back to like the Colby Parkinson type points. Like when you have like a quarterback, especially like when you're paying like Mahomes, you value like Mahomes. That is the franchise, and you need to keep him upright off an ACL or a back injury or whatever it may be. Like, are you going to trust Emmett Johnson like 100? What is he? 202 pounds allegedly. I don't think he's really 202 pounds. I think Emmett Johnson's like probably 195. Like, do you trust him to keep Mahomes upright and like execute the offense? Probably not in year one in round 5. You know, could he play a little bit? Sure, but I think DeMarcado is going to be that third down back. He's going to make the team. I don't think Brashard Smith is a game day active guy. I think it's going to be, you know, Kenneth Walker, DeMarcado, and then Emmett beats out Brashard Smith would be my guess. But no, I like that shout, man. I probably need to mix DeMarcado in as a round 20 click. That is a good note. I will note. You know, it's just not a name I thought of a lot, you know, back in Arizona, but he did produce. He was efficient. And again, is it like really his fault that like he didn't score a ton of touchdowns with like Arizona? Like it's Arizona. They were not really dialing it up to the running backs a ton. In the red zone, there's a lot of McBride, a lot of Michael Wilson. So, yeah, I like that shout. Nice. Yeah, no, it's a good shout. I hope this makes sense. Put the Claire pick. But the Claire pick makes it feel like T-Ferg went up the Pez dispenser rather than getting displaced. So, T-Wise, if you're still here, could you articulate that for me? I feel like I'm on the verge of getting it, but I just want to make sure I understand. Yeah, the way I interpret the Max Claire pick personally is like they want him, so they want to run a lot of 12 personnel for the, you know, the run blocking that it does, but they don't want just like a bunch of like blocking ass tight ends. They want guys who can like leak out on play action. Maybe one guy who stretches the field like a Tiefer. Like I think the Max Claire archetype now, he actually is also a good receiving back, but he's not, a good receiving tight end, but he's not like a go 30 yards downfield and catch like a dime. He's more of like I think like a Dallas Goedert or a Hunter Henry. It's like, yeah, they're good blockers, but they're also like pretty good receivers, more well-rounded. And I think they've talked about Claire as like a developmental pick. I think if they needed like that immediate tight end producer, they would have gone like with the Sadiq in round 1. Would have made total sense. But I think they're viewing Claire as like a developmental pick. He's going to mix in. He's going to get like his 200 yards and a touchdown or two. But I think they're going to like groom him to be like the Higbee and the Colby Parkinson replacement, because it's like Colby Parkinson is fine. He's like a jag, but like you want like you're the Rams. Like you don't want to be playing significant Colby Parkinson snaps late into Stafford's prime or during this like Puka prime. So I think their vision for the offense this year is going to be, you know, Puka, Adams, Colby, and Ferg with like Claire mixing in. And then for 27, it's like Claire just straight up flips Parkinson, where Claire is like the Goddard and Ferg is like a de facto. I know people say this a lot for like tight ends, but like it is true now for like a Bowers and a Kyle Pitts. And I'm not saying Terrence Ferguson is as good as them, but the archetype of like a power slot, you know, where you have Michael Mayer playing, that's like the Max Claire. And then the Bowers, again, Terrence Ferguson will not get that target share. They have Puka and Adams, but like a field stretching tight end who can be like, oh, he can like break a big play. Oh, my bad memories. Yeah, the DeMarcado thing was crazy. That was genuinely one of the wildest. If you go back and look up that fumble, that cost them the game. Was that against the Titans? I feel like it was against the Titans. That was such a brutal. Um, Shout out Fantasy Dog though. I like that DeMarcado shout. I need to factor it in. Like he's more likely to be the next one up. Okay. Love seeing Colby's UD blurb and it's saying key drop in the NFC Championship game, and not help but think that it pushed them to drafting another tight end. Yeah, I think the Rams are like viewing their offense as like the future is the 12 personnel stuff. As the league moves a little bit away from like the explosive passing in the sense of like we're throwing it like 40 yards to the boundary to our wide receiver. Like that, they actually are still one of the teams that does that, but it's like because Matt Stafford is so accurate and because they can attack every part of the field that it's like usually not into double coverage to like Puka 40 yards downfield. It's usually like when Puka gets like single coverage on the outside. So um, I think they're like, okay, we want 12 personnel packages. We want good run blocking. We want efficient run blocking for Corum and Kyron. Take what the defense gives. I wish they had an explosive running back. I wish they used Jarquez a little bit more. Maybe he earns it. Maybe he's just not good enough to earn that. But I do think they need the only thing missing from the Rams offense is like that Kenneth Walker level, like explosive rusher. And I think Jarquez has a little bit of that in his game. So anyway, the point is, I think they're going to use a lot of increase the 12 tight end that they used last year. Whether that's a lot of Parkinson, some Higbee. I think Higbee's kind of washed. He's really old, man, and like they gave him again $4 million a year. That's like half of Daniel Bellinger, half of Charlie Kolar, and it's like, all right, if you're getting half of Charlie Kolar's salary, half of Daniel Bellinger's salary, and you're getting the James Conner type quotes like, we value his leadership. It's like, okay, Tyler Higbee is like not a serious. He played a lot last year, but again, like that was Terrence Ferguson's rookie year. He's hurt. We saw like with the Rams, Blake Corum barely got to play year one. And running back's like the easiest position on offense to learn. Like you think they're not going to slow roll a tight end, which is like probably the second toughest to learn. You got to block, you got to keep Matt Stafford upright, and you got to learn the receiving, like the route tree. So I think I agree with this comment that he's like the next one up. Where Terrence, if the Rams had done anything like significant at wide receiver 3, like the slot receiver position, if they had taken Mekhi Lemon, I would be feeling so bad about my Ferguson bet because I'm like, okay, well, the power slot thesis goes out the window. They're going to run a ton of 11 personnel, and they are going to, Terrence Ferguson's just going to be like a 30% route right guy. I guess he's going to mix in, but they'll have a lot more Colby than I'd like. But the fact they were like, we're not taking Mekhi Lemon. We're not even taking Kenyon Sadiq because the quote from the Rams, this wasn't like McVay saying it publicly, but this was like reported by not Jake Glazer, but like one of those type of guys who usually has decent scoops saying that the Rams did not see an immediate path to contribution for Mekhi Lemon or Sadiq. I'm like, okay, Sadiq, they got a lot of tight ends, but like Mekhi Lemon, really? That makes me think that they view Terrence Ferguson and his 21 yards per reception as like a legitimate power slot option. Big body, good speed, good measurables. Again, it might not hit, but like round 18, and I'm looking for like this year's, semi breakout tight end. I'm like, okay, are you a really good athlete? Did you get good draft capital? Are you in a good offense? Are you athletic? Like he checks all those boxes. He just didn't play a lot of snaps, but I'm like, this is the prototype. Like this is what happens. Like I don't think he's as good as Bride, not even close. But like Trey McBride barely played as a rookie. Then but he checks all the boxes. He gets to play more in year 2, and Ferguson just feels like a guy who could play more. Like if I'm like he's got the efficiency, he's got the draft capital, he's got the if the only thing holding him back is Colby Parkinson, I will make that bet that he can flip him as year 2 guys do. And we all remember Higbee's historic run a few years back. Was that like 2019? I want to say. I remember that one, if that's that run where he like was super hot at the end of the year. I feel he helped drag me to, he and Devontae Parker, if I'm not mixing it up, helped drag me to a fantasy championship. Of course I lost. Haven't won that league in many years. But no, Higbee had a hell of a run. And one of the last thing on Ferg is like, man, what if like Puka went down? Like Adams goes down, I don't think Ferg benefits quite as much, just in the sense of like Ferg doesn't do anything that like Adams really does. But if Puka went down, like the closest thing on the roster to being like that big body that can run like a 4-4 and like have defenders bounce off you in the secondary. I don't know. They could maybe try to jam Ferg into, again, what are they going to do? Konata Mumfield? Like, what are the Rams doing at wide receiver 3? If they had a sufficient good wide receiver 3, I'd be like, okay, fine, you can talk me off Terrence Ferguson Island. But like, they don't have a wide receiver 3, and he runs receiver routes. Like, again, it was only 11 receptions, but if you have a little time, look up some of the Terrence Ferguson catches and their routes, and it's like they're kind of fun. Yeah, bro. I'm simply not drafting Kanata Mumfield. I actually have like 1 or 2 shares, but I don't feel good about it. You're not going to make me feel good about it. Every single year, there's a late round tight end that emerges as a top 12 tight end. It's every year. I totally agree. And that is a huge way to exploit the field. I mean, even Juwan Johnson was like super cheap last year. And it's like he had already had a semi breakout at a point in his career. He was just hurt. So it's like, I'm just going to invest in what I think are talented tight ends and like not let things hold back. I was buying a ton of Gunnar Helm when Chig was a free agent. I'm like, I thought he was leaving. And he did. And then I was like, sure, the Titans, you know what? The Titans could draft a tight end and that nukes Gunnar Helm. Or, you know, Gunnar Helm, buddies with Cam Ward, better athlete than his combine suggested because he had a high ankle sprain during his 40-yard dash. And Gunnar Helm for a day 3 rookie tight end and a terribly designed offense last year had some respectable weeks down the stretch. It's like, can Gunnar Helm be AJ Barner? Could he be, I don't know, like best case scenario, could he have a Jake Ferguson style season or a Dallas Goedert, not like the 11 touchdown Dallas Goedert season, but like a normal Dallas Goedert season? I don't know. Maybe. Like I'm getting 80 picks of arbitrage on that. And then I can take the receiver, the running back in round, pick 130, 140. So I'm just trying to play a lot of it. And the other guy I really like, besides Ferg and Helm, is Pat Freiermuth, who like Pat Freiermuth is like to the Jawan and the Hunter Henry point. It's like, actually, Pat Freiermuth has done it multiple times. Like he was like a victim of an Arthur Smith 4 tight end offense last year. Like, am I going to blame Pat Freiermuth for that? No, but they cut Jonnu. Who's the other one? Connor Hayward. I think he's no longer on the team. Maybe they drafted somebody, but it's like that tight end room is Freiermuth and Darnell Washington, and it's like normal again. And Aaron Rodgers hit Freiermuth for a couple spike weeks last year, and Mike McCarthy's offenses are good for tight ends. So, Jawan last year, Hunter Henry was cheap. Hunter Henry's still pretty cheap, honestly. I just love all these tight ends after like pick 150. Tight end as a whole is kind of underpriced this year, I feel like, but like you start getting in the Jawan and the Hunter Henry range, like those guys like straight up out project a lot of the receivers, like the Isaac Teslas and like terms of yards. Like I don't know, man. I love cheap tight end this year. Sus, you are definitely no, sir. I'm going to say something to Who Hames to get you some exposures. Who Hames is smart like you would be all ears listening to you too. Shout out to Who Hames, man. He had me on his channel a couple weeks ago. That was a real pleasure. Who Hames definitely knows his stuff, and it was good to chop it up with him, pop on a drafters draft or two, and no, he knows ball, and I love watching him grow as a streamer. I saw he had the 12-hour live stream today. I need to check in and watch some of that. I was just not on the computer at all today, but definitely got to go back and see some of the highlights from that. But I appreciate that, man. That's really nice to say, and that puts a little battery in my back to keep going, so I appreciate it. Hilarious watching you just talk about my literal highest exposed tight ends. No, you're right. They're underpriced. Yeah, it just feels like, man, even like some other guys like we haven't mentioned, like Dalton Schultz, 777 yards last year. Like he was fucking sick. He's like pretty much like maybe, Higgins will take a leap, I think, this year, but like Schultz is like the wide receiver 2, 3 on that team. Like maybe the Texans are just a more efficient offense, less 3 and outs. Like Schultz could still have a great year. AJ Barner is going to could take a year 3 leap or just still be good. Like there's just so many good tight end scores to be had in a lot of the ranges of the draft. And I just feel like those cheap tight ends, all those like cheap tight ends should be going ahead of the running backs. Like the Woody Markses, the Jonah Coleman. Maybe Jonah Coleman's a bad example. If Dobbins gets hurt, he could smash. But you know what I mean? Like that cohort of like running backs that go in like the 150s now. Like there used to be some good values, but like the ones that go there now, man, none of these running backs get me bricked up from like pick 150 to like pick 200. And it's like, just push all the tight ends who are going to get like 500, 800 yards, like push them all ahead of these guys. Yeah, a lot of viable tight ends this year. It's like the position's like 28, 29 deep. Um, as I seen it, yeah, no, that was a fun time with Who Hames. Shout out to Who Hames. The man knows ball. Glad to see his channel doing well, celebrating a milestone on the subscribers, and I'm sure he crushed it on the 12 hours. So I'm going to let's see, Arby's 150. Oh, they're brutal, man. Like, I mean, I'm sure I'll check this draft in a second. I'm sure the names are going to make me vomit in my mouth. Not to be disgusting, but we go 3-6-8-3 here on drafters. We go Lamar, Herbert, and Shedeur. It's really a two quarterback team, but I think Shedeur could get some starts, and it's a little bit of injury insurance and a hedge against Deshaun Watson not being able to really throw a football anymore. Ashton Jeanty. And I do want to say the last thing on Deshaun Watson, like, he has not been good since 2020. Like, I could be mistaken, but I feel like his box scores have not like been good consistently since 2020. I have like a general rule of thumb, like if you haven't been good in 6 years, I'm not taking you anymore in fantasy football. Running backs: Ashton Jeanty, Kenneth Walker, Jalen Warren, Jonathan Brooks, Vidal, and Helani. It's a little thin after the top three, 2.5, but hey, sometimes thin and some risk is what you need to win big tournaments, in the world where Jonathan Brooks can have some Rico weeks, not like the 30 balls, but just like, 80 yards and a touchdown. Kamani Vidal, been training with Raheem Mostert this offseason. Raheem Mostert once had a very good season in a Mike McDaniel offense 3 years ago. Last time McDaniel had a good offensive line. So could Kamani Vidal have a, Raheem Mostert-esque goal line role, just poach a bunch of touchdowns from Hampton as he needs a breather? I don't know. It's possible. And then George Helani, just give me a couple PPR scam weeks as Sharps comes back and Price maneuvers his way as a rookie. Wide receiver: Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, Brian Thomas, Pearsall, Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris, Calvin Ridley, Darnell Mooney. Honestly, for having started 2 early RBs, I feel pretty good about that receiver room. Wilson feels safe. Flowers feels safe. A little upside with Brian Thomas and Pearsall. A couple year 2, round 2 wide receivers and Higgins and Trey Harris, and then some maybe dusty vets in Ridley and Mooney, but can they get a couple weeks? Who knows? Gadsden, Juwan, and Ferguson. It's one of my favorite tight end rooms. I've definitely done that one like 8 different times, but playing the hits, I suppose. Let's see. Yeah, Watson looked lost on the field, man. He spiritually, something happens to you, I think, when you go through something like he went through. And he hasn't looked like the same guy since the whole legal incident. And, if you lose your confidence as a quarterback, I feel like that's really hard to overcome. You hurt your shoulder and you tear your Achilles twice. That's even harder, as we've seen in his stats in 2024. So I don't know, man. I just don't think Deshaun Watson is the sort of leader. Like Shedeur, like, say what you want about Shedeur Sanders. He did have a 38-point fantasy game last year, despite getting no reps with the ones. Like, they did not give him a real. I'm not saying he deserved reps with the ones, but like he simply did not have reps with the ones. And if you can have no reps with the ones in camp and through most of the season until you get out there, and then you can put up 38 in a week, like, sure, Shedeur like would not start for most NFL or really almost any other NFL team. But if your competition's Deshaun Watson and like Casey Concepcion is like, I want to play with Shedeur, like that's who I'm building chemistry with. And like, I don't know, man. Shedeur just has that aura that young guys are gonna like they look up to him. Or they'll view him as a peer, and they're gonna be like, Deshaun Watson, like this dude, he can't even throw like sure, Shedeur takes like too long in the pocket sometimes and takes too many sacks, but like that's rookie stuff. And maybe he never adjusts, but like, what if he does? What if he can be a decent little check down guy and, push the ball downfield? Things like Watson, man, like a couple years ago when I was watching him and I wanted to be in because I had a bag, I feel like Watson could not push the ball more than 15 yards down the field with any zip. So I don't know, man. Good team. Oh, appreciate that, man. Yeah, I feel like this one came out a little better than my last drafters draft, which was a little more. I wanted to go RBs early, but I just tried. It ended up getting into a different start, and I don't like these starts where I don't have a wide or where I don't have a running back through 3 rounds. Feels really bad to me on in general, honestly, this year. It's still viable to not go running back through 3 rounds, but I think you want to have one. You feel a lot better at the end. I'm a minority. I think Shador could end up as a top tier game manager. I think it's in the range of outcomes. I think he's got to work on the sack taking stuff. Like you got to trim down the sacks. You got to get rid of the ball sometimes. You can't always try to play hero ball. And again, like some of the processing stuff, it's like you just got to, you know, watch the tape. I bet he's watching the tape. I bet he's locked in. He wants to probably make a lot of money in his career. So I bet he's doing everything he can to learn it. And I think some of the stuff where they're like acting like Watson's the QB1 early, maybe he will be early in the year. I don't think he'll play good enough to sustain it. And I think part of it is also like they want Shador to like really earn it again. Like they don't want to just hand it to him. I think they want to like keep that developmental battery in his back. So I could definitely see Shador ending up as like like what prime, like before all the brain injuries and like when Tua Tagovailoa was really good, like he was a peak Tua. Like he got a $200 million contract or $160 million, $40 million a year contract for a reason. Like Tua used to be a pretty good quarterback. So I feel like Shador could be like when Tua was at his peak, good numbers, just manage the game, get the ball, like receivers running open, Casey Concepcion's running open, hit him in stride. I feel like Shador's got that in his bag potentially if it all works out. Did you hear about the Sanders Junkyard Dogs, all practice squatters who stayed after practice? I have not. I'll have to look into that. Was that like people training with Sanders during his rookie year? Let me take a look at that. I'm just going to give that a quick Google. Oop, typo on my end. I'm not sure. You're gonna have to tell me what that is, Fantasy Dogs. The Sanders Junkyard Dogs, all practice squatters who stayed after practice. Is that a short? Oh, let's see. Let's see. After a game, he gave shout outs to practice squatters. Yeah, man, dude, Shador is like a real one. And honestly, the dude, say what you like, it's just weird all the hate he gets. Like, I do think teams were right to be skeptical about him coming out of college a little bit. Like, his ego was crazy coming out of college. Like, but he got humbled. A lot of young men, on that hero's journey, you got to get humbled at some point. It happened. He's handled it pretty much as well as you could, being like as talented as him. He didn't deserve to go fifth round. I thought maybe second or third round was like appropriate for his talent. Dude got humbled. He took it on the chin. He went to a small market. He did pretty well last year, all things considered. He flashed. Sure, he had mistakes, but again, like if you don't let a rookie quarterback get any reps with the guys he's throwing to, and then you're like, oh, by the way, get out on the field now. Dylan Gabriel's hurt. It's like, I don't know. What do you really want from the guy realistically? If we're being fair to him, did Shador get a opportunity to fairly develop chemistry with his weapons like every other quarterback? No. So I want to see what he does this offseason. I think Todd Monken's a good coach, good developer of talent, and I think he's going to get a fair shake with Monken. I don't think Monken's going to just automatically give the keys to Deshaun Watson. Like Deshaun Watson's the last dude who has earned the right to be handed the keys. He's getting paid a lot of money, so they have that incentive to play him. But like, it's the last year of the Watson contract, and like I don't think Browns fans want to see Watson over Shador. Like, not that that matters, but it's not like the fans are like going to be kicking down the door if Deshaun's not starting. Like they would love to see Shador at some point. And there's no way Watson plays well enough to keep him to guarantee he stays off the field. So I think we get Shador at some point, and I think it looks better than Watson, and I think they keep Shador out there. That would be my read on it. And if Shador's not good enough, then no one on that team's good enough, and they'll be picking very high in what is allegedly a good running back draft. Or sorry, a good quarterback draft next year. Don't think the Browns need a running back. I think they need a quarterback pretty bad. But I think that's going to do it for me. Appreciate you guys, T-Wise and Fantasy Dog, popping into the chat. rooting for him big time. Me too, man. Honestly, it's cool to see a dude, have that success in college, but have that character development where he evolves from like a young man who's like confident in himself, but maybe like like a little overconfident relative to his abilities, and then but he learns. I'm sure Shedeur has had like that opportunity to learn so much about himself and grow as a man. Like I think he'll be better for this experience, and it'll honestly probably make him a better pro. Bet he went the round he did. Again, I think he fell too far, but like I think like when we do like the 30 for 30 on like Shedeur Sanders, it's going to be a lot more positive than negative. He also just seems like a good chill dude. Like don't see him getting in any trouble. Like he just plays like video games and like at home and like live streams and like hangs out with his brothers. Like I don't know, man. I like Shedeur, and not just personally. Like I think he's just straight up better at football than Watson. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Thank you, man. So I'm gonna pop on out of here, but appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll try to do more drafters drafts soon. We are going to get on out of here. You're destined for good things, my guy. Way too smart, my man. You do the work and we listen. Hey, appreciate it, man. Looking to entertain, and gonna hopefully have some more guests coming on soon to just chop it up and draft some fun teams. So on that note, Fancy Dog, TYs, everyone else out there, appreciate it, guys. Have a good night. Peace.